You're listening to the Empowered to Heal podcast. I'm your host, Dena T, and I'm so excited to take you on a journey through stories of everyday experts as we share the ways we've harnessed the power inside us to improve the quality of our lives and the health of our minds. We're so excited to have you here with us and hope you feel inspired and empowered to heal. Hello, you beautiful souls. I just had the most wonderful conversation with a woman named Jerrie Ueberle. She is the founder and CEO of the World Academy for the Future of Women, which has been going on for about 12 years now and is currently available in Bangladesh, China, and Nepal. And she's currently trying to expand that academy to be present here in the United States, as well as in Brazil, Kenya, and Barbados, and really anywhere else that she can extend that opportunity for learning. And Jerrie's also the founder and CEO of a nonprofit organization called Global Interactions, which has been in existence for going on 37 years. So Jerrie has devoted about nearly 40 years of her life traveling the world and creating connections with people across the world despite distance to further research technologies, best practices, leadership, social justice, gender equality, and human dignity. Her most recent focus has been around the World Academy for the Future of Women, where she is creating learning opportunities and programs for women to develop an inner self-knowing and strength within themselves, as well as learning opportunities and fostering dreaming big with these women about their future and the future for women in general. Jerrie has traveled the world and educated herself on multiple cultures and has dedicated her life to bridging these connections and treating some of the biggest injustices in our world through education. And I'm so excited for you to get to meet her. She's been recognized and received many awards, and I'm just going to name a few that I'm aware of. But the Ladies Leaving a Legacy Award, Women's International Network Global Leadership Award, the Social Entrepreneur Award for 2015, and Global Community Services Award from the World Network of Entrepreneurs Worldwide. Jerrie is a powerhouse of knowledge and strength, and she represents and stands for gratitude, looking beyond what you currently know. And she has a dream in this world that she's fulfilling every single day. And she's creating a life for people, helping them imagine and know and create a life that they want to live. I'm so excited to introduce you to Jerrie. So without further ado, here she is.
We on fire, we burn brighter, we burn brighter. We on fire, we on fire. We go higher, we go higher. Born to take this world by storm, born to see what is in store. Everything starts within our core, so let's begin the dreamer's roar and show them what we stand for. It's a dreamer's world and it's on fire.
This song is brought to you by the nonprofit organization mytunein.org. The youth who wrote, composed, and performed this song has navigated hardships, mental health battles, and found music as a form of healing. You can participate, volunteer, or donate to this nonprofit organization at www.mytunein.org and support our youth in honoring their stories, providing access to resources for self-expression, and supporting them in production process. Stay tuned. We will be playing the entire song at the end of this episode. Hi there, Jerrie. Thank you so much for joining the Empower to Heal podcast.
Thank you, Dena. It's wonderful to be here.
I'm so excited to have an opportunity to learn from you today. I think that you can impart a lot of wisdom on us. And you've shared a little bit with me, and I've done some research around your work in the past nearly 40 years in building and running two organizations across the world that really focuses on empowering and creating equal opportunities. And so I want to create space to learn from you today and hear all about that.
Thank you. Thank you. It's
Yeah.
wonderful to be here.
So tell me a little bit about you and how you found yourself in this line of work.
I think the work found me. I think, I think the work for people is all around them. They need to pay attention to what's around them and discover what they see in the world resonates with their heart and their soul. What really would make a difference if they committed to it. And so very early, when I was a child, I was interested in people's lives and why some people turned out one way and people turned out another way. And what was called success and what was called something else. And so paying attention to what's going on in your community, in your neighborhood, in your family will be a good insight to discovering how you can focus and spend your life.
Wow. And you've done this not just in your own community, but you've traveled far and wide, helping people kind of identify what's inside them that they want to nurture and create and have an impact in their lives around.
Yeah, I have been very, very fortunate and privileged and have great gratitude for the opportunities that have been available to me.
Mm. Can you tell us a little bit about those experiences you've had in traveling and kind of the impact that you've made?
Well, I guess the greatest impact, let's start with what I'm doing now, which is operating World Academy for the Future of Women, which is a women's leadership program that is located in a rural area of China, in Kathmandu, Nepal, and in Dhaka, Bangladesh, on university campuses. And the purpose of the World Academy is to accelerate women's leadership worldwide, to really put women on the playing field, put women at the decision-making tables for things that impact humanity, social justice, and gender equality. And so that has been a project that I have worked on for 12 years, and am very eager to expand that to locations in the United States, as well as conversations we're having with Kenya and Brazil, possibly Barbados. It doesn't matter where, because there's no place in the world, literally no place in the world, where women have equality at the level that men have. I was on a call this week, International Women's Week, with a woman from Rwanda. Rwanda has more people in their government than any other country in the world. Tiny Rwanda that went through horrible, horrible deaths has women rising now to levels of responsibility and decision making. So it's time to step up.
Yes. How did you find your way to focusing on women and women's rights and equality?
Just looking at the data, I went to Beijing in 1995 for the United Nations Conference on Women, or it was called the Fourth Women's Forum. And it was there that I really realized that what I already knew had such enormous impact on the lives of women and children. I don't think I learned anything new at that conference other than I knew I could make a difference.
It kind of inspired you to focus on that population.
Yeah.
I love that.
Or at the bottom in education, at the some girls can't go to school, ever go to school. A lot of girls in the world go to school, but they can't go to high school. A lot of them go to school, but they don't have jobs. A lot of them have jobs, but they don't have equal pay. That's, everywhere. That's in the US as well. So it's not impossible to achieve these things. if women realize they deserve it. They deserve it. And many women don't have the courage or the confidence to step forward, to have a voice and make choices about their own well-being and the well-being of others in their family, their children. And so they live in this less than equal circumstance out of not being emboldened to make changes in their lives. And realized a long time ago, you can't make changes for other people. They have to make changes for themselves.
Yes. And so you've set out on a journey to empower women to find that strength within themselves and use it.
Yeah, I think maybe empower is not as to discover. You discover who you are, then you empower yourself.
Wow.
And unless you discover who you are, it doesn't matter how much power. Let me give you an example. In the United States, 100 years ago, white women were given the right to vote. Later on, Black women were given the right to vote. But for 100 years, white women in the United States have had the right to vote. We have not voted in our own equality. Gender equality is not the right of American women. So they're empowered, they have the right to vote, but they haven't empowered themselves. They haven't taken the step to use the power that's available to them. Until they discover that, empowerment is outside of them. When they discover it for themselves, it's inside them and they can use it.
Wow. So how does your program and your mission help people discover that within themselves?
It's a year-long program, and it's a program that doesn't cost university students anything to belong to. They have to apply, they have to be interviewed, and they have to give their word that they will participate for 1 year to accelerate women's leadership. That doesn't mean to accelerate their leadership exclusively. It's to accelerate women's leadership. So it's not about, I'm going to join this so I'll be a big duck. I'm going to join this program so I'll be at the top of the heap. It's I'm going to join this World Academy for the Future of Women so I can make available to other women the opportunity to discover who they are.
And what does the programming look like during that year?
Okay, they must attend 8 to 10 hours of curriculum and activities each week, 8 to 10 hours each week, and they don't get credit. They don't have to pay for it, but they don't get credit. And they do this in addition to their university program. So already they're saying, I'm above and beyond what's normal. I'm extraordinary. I'm abnormal. I've taken a stand for something bigger than myself. And so during those 8 to 10 hours a week, they go to seminars for content. We do give them content on leadership. But more importantly, they go to labs and learn how to use that content, to actually take that content to action. And unless you take it to action, it's just information.
Yeah.
We're all smarter than we act. So just telling them things to make them smart will make no difference unless they take it to action. And you often have to teach people how to take it to action, to have the courage, to have the voice, to have the support, to have the confidence that your word will make a difference. And then part of the week they go to coaching. So we coach them how to accelerate the skills that they've learned. And then they have to have a project that they create or join that aligns with the United Nations Sustainable Goals. Goals that are to end poverty, end domestic violence, end hunger, get women in educated in schools and educated, not just in schools. There's a lot of young women in schools, but the schools are so poorly designed and the teaching is so irrelevant that it makes no difference. So we want education, not just going to school. There's a distinction between going to school and getting an education. So we want girls getting an education that will give them access to a different life. And so there's projects on the environment. There was a project last week on no more menstrual shame. Many girls in the world are ashamed of having a menstrual period of all things. The natural function of a woman, and they're ashamed to buy sanitary napkins. They're ashamed to have that experience known, shameful of their body. And until we can have them realize that this is normal. So the project, which was just really brilliant, this Academy member, she had an electrical machine with connectors that men came up and they put the connectors on their stomach, and then they were administered 3 levels of electrical shock to assimilate what menstrual pain might be. And the men were shocked. They didn't know that menstruation was uncomfortable. And so the video went viral, and 130 million hits.
Oh my gosh.
So 130 million. Then they repeated it this week on International Women's Day.
Wow. That is brilliant. I've seen some videos like that where men have to experience what it's like to go through labor, and they put a machine on their stomach to like make their muscles contract. Yeah. I think it's a brilliant opportunity to like level the playing field and understand, right, what each other are going through.
Not knowing, but having an experience of. That's the distinction, Dena. Not just knowing. We know that 1 in 4 women in the United States are victims of domestic violence. Knowing that makes no difference unless we do something to educate women how to avoid it, how to make good decisions on relationships, how to pick a mate that not just says they love you, but truly supports you and what you want to be in life, what you want to have in life. And we do not have a society in the United States that represents that.
No, we don't. And I think that's compounded by a lot of the structures that we have in our country that contribute to poverty, contribute to lack of resources. Like we are a extremely well-developed country who are lacking in big areas. And if that education, that exposure, those opportunities are not organized in a way to end the cycle, it's hard to break it. It's hard to get out of it.
It is. And mothers need to tell daughters of these experiences. In Nepal, when you're having your menstrual period, you can't live in the house. In the villages, you have
oh my goodness,
have to go live in the barn. And in most houses, even in the cities, you can't go in the kitchen during your menstrual period because it's considered unsanitary. And then years after years after years, mothers pass this myth down to daughters, who then pass it down to their daughters. Ridiculous. It's not true. And to continue that kind of behavior and create that kind of experience for a young woman. When I was in Nepal one year, a woman who was in the barn having her menstrual period got bitten by a poisonous snake and died.
Oh my goodness.
Another time I was in Nepal, there was a mother and her two children who were in the barn because she had to go to the barn for her menstrual period. So she had to take her children with her, and they got asphyxiated because they had a fire. There was a fire in the barn, and the ventilation was not good, and all 3 of them died. Unacceptable. All
because of a menstrual cycle. Like this belief that you're dirty.
Yeah, Right. Right.
Wow.
So we have a lot of not just learning to do, but implementing what we learn.
Mhm. And you've had to study the various cultures that your academy is in to understand what women experience in each area, right? You've had to educate yourself on the differences of cultural differences for the different places that your academy is in.
Yeah, that's very true, Dina. The distinction that I want to make is that we don't have the World Academy in other countries to change their culture. We're there to have the women take a leadership role, and then they determine what they want to change in their culture.
And it's educating ourselves on their culture so that we're not like, we never want to go change someone's culture, but we want to be aware so that we're not inadvertently doing so, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. And I think of all of the different experiences you've had to get to where you are today. You've had to triumph and overcome a lot. Can you share with me how you've built up your own resilience and mindset in order to execute these big goals and help other people believe that they can do that too and know that they can do that too?
Well, I think the biggest learning is the fact that you can't change anybody.
Mm-hmm.
The only person you can change is yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can share things, you can point things out, but the change comes in the other person's behavior, not yours. If I could change everybody, that would be so easy. I would just go out and change them, but you can't. They've got to see the value in the change for themselves, for their children. Yeah, many times women who are victims of domestic violence decide to take a stand against being beaten because their children see them being beaten and they don't want that to be the norm for their children.
Mm-hmm.
They take it because it's meaningful to them, not because I say, oh, you don't want your children to see you being beaten. No, they have to say, this is not right. I don't want my children to grow up thinking this is normal.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But look at the increase in Bangladesh. 67% of the families are victims of domestic violence. 67%. And the pandemic has increased this because women have been locked down with their abusive spouse. And so, we've got a lot of work to do to make women realize it doesn't have to be that way. And they should make those choices before they're married, not afterwards.
Yeah, when we spoke last, we were talking about prevention, right? And not just reaction.
Right. Right.
Have you always had this strong mindset yourself?
I came from a wonderful family. I had the best parents in the world. And the other day I was on a call and they said, who influenced you most? And a lot of the women on the call said, my mother. Well, I had to say my mother and my father. Because the way my father treated my mother and the respect they had for each other and the support they gave to each other was phenomenal. There wasn't a men are better than women. It's like it was a team. And if you marry somebody who will be your teammate rather than take care of you, you get how damaging that is to choose somebody who's going to take care of you. Then you're beholden to their taking care of you, and you have to do the things that they want done in order that they won't quit taking care of you. You need to know you can take care of yourself no matter what. Doesn't matter. Don't marry the guy who has the big car and the wonderful house. You get a big car and a wonderful house if that's what you happen to want. But we're not about big cars and wonderful houses and that. We're about meaningful lives. What would make your life meaningful? Not what would make it like a marketplace advertisement.
Yeah.
And we're really messed up by all the advertising to getting more, to having more, to being more with material assets rather than being more with generosity. Oh, this is wonderful, Dena. I want to mention this. When you ask World Academy members what they learned in the World Academy, they will say, I learned gratitude. I learned appreciation. I learned generosity. Those are not words that most leaders say about their leadership. They may say, I'm empowered. Oh, I can make decisions. I can organize. And that's great. And those are all skills that leaders need and should have. But to be grateful, to be appreciative,
Yeah.
to be generous. Look at all the politicians and corporate people that you would not assign generosity to.
No. And if we live in a world that's not self-absorbed and that's looking at the collective, those are experiences we have. We have gratitude, we have appreciation because we're looking at each other, not just ourselves.
Exactly. And a lot of people have gotten what they want for themselves. And it's empty and hollow.
Yes, I agree with that. I hear you talking about that type of leadership, and it reminds me of I learned last year concepts around feminine leadership. And I have been in leadership roles for quite a long time and always felt myself trying to navigate who I was and how I felt called to lead versus the world I was in. And sometimes the pressure that you feel of conforming to the world that you're in can disrupt your own true sense of leadership of who you are and how you want to engage. And I was taking this course and expanding my education and learned about feminine leadership. And that's where I learned the power that I have within myself in my own approaches that are very feminine. And they are very us focused, and it's direct, but it's caring and it's supportive and it's empowering. And I found that the almost reassurance that I needed that no, it's okay to do it your way and not feel like you have to conform.
Yeah, well, if we did it the way that it's been done, we would keep getting
the same
kind
results.
of leadership that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't in any way think that women's leadership is better than men's leadership, but the combination of men and women gives a wider perspective. One of the operating principles in the oath of the World Academy is I will go beyond my personal and geographic boundaries. And in doing that, you must overcome your barriers, not the barriers of who you're working with. And it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. And we don't have women. I mean, you can talk about the women who are in poverty, who can't go to school, who are human trafficking. Data is horribly skewed toward women. Not it's horrible. It's beyond belief how many women are misused in life. And until women say, not me, not my daughter, or not my son will not act that way either, will the change be made. So we've got to let women see that they have a voice and they have a choice. And until they exercise that, it's meaningless.
And outside of that, something that it sounds like you're creating is a support system. Like when somebody believes in you, it's so much easier to believe in yourself, right? When someone tells you, wait a second, think about that, right? Go reflect on that, do that work. Then you're like, oh, thanks for sparking that within me and igniting some of that. It's interesting to me too, to think through like women who are in sex trafficking, the out is not, it's a decision to be out, but then it's a safe safety. Where's your safety out of it? Where do you get to go? Who's that person? Where is that safety going to live outside of it so that you can do that? You can get out. And it sounds like your academy creates a sense of safety and learning that we're in this together. We're doing it. We're accountable to each other. People are believing in you. We're giving you a platform and access to education. That is oftentimes a support system that we need in order to choose ourselves, right? In order to feel like we can safely do that when we're trying to follow that within ourselves.
Exactly. Certainly. Yeah. We've got to believe in ourselves. And when somebody believes in you, that is reinforcing, but you have to go forward even if they don't believe in you. There's a lot of women that I've worked with who thought I had a good idea, but they didn't believe it would work for them. And when they don't believe it'll work for them, guess what?
Doesn't work.
They're absolutely right. It won't work if you don't believe it.
Power of the mind.
I just got off a Zoom call where I shared this with who I was talking with. And early in the academy in China, a woman came the first year. She came to me and said, Jerrie, I'm sorry, I have to leave the World Academy. And I said, really? Why do you have to leave the World Academy? And she said, because my boyfriend doesn't think this is a good idea. And I said, I think you need a new boyfriend. And she said, oh, yeah, I do. I said, well, stay in the academy and let's find you a new boyfriend. You know, there's 1.7 billion people in the world. Surely there's one other boy that would work. So let's go look for that one.
But you planted that seed and the light bulb went on in her mind. Like,
yeah.
Oh.
But we get attached to decisions. Well, we also get attached that we can change them. Yeah. He loves me and I can change him. There's not a lot of data about that being true.
No, because we're our own people. We're our own individuals, right? We make our own choices.
I said nothing changes if nothing changes, and you can't change anyone.
Very true.
You can share, you can give examples, you can encourage, but the change comes from inside of them. That choice.
I experienced that in working in the public mental health system. We would work with a lot of children who were brought into services, and there was this pressure from the parents to have the children be better, be fixed, be changed. And we couldn't get anywhere unless we figured out that child, building a relationship with that child and figuring out, what do you want, right? Like the world around you is telling you X, Y, and Z, or to conform to this, or to express your emotions differently, or that you need help. But who are you? What do you want? And a huge part of our work in doing that was the agency I worked at created this nonprofit called My Tune In. And it's a platform to create opportunity, access to, and promotion of self-expression for these kids in the system who they want to express themselves through basketball. They want to express themselves through music, rap, artwork, poetry, whatever it is. And that becomes their healing, and usually is the most profound healing that they have throughout everything, not the therapy that the parents force them to go to every Tuesday. And so it was such an experience of like moving through and shifting the focus on teams and with parents of, we're not here to change your child, right? We're here to help understand who they are and what they want and help them achieve that. And things will get better if we do that, but you have to believe in it.
We talk about in the academy, creating the life you want to live. Making choices where you create the life you want to live. And inherent in that is the admission or the recognition that how you are living now is how you created it. Nobody else created your life for you. You made the choices. You took the recommendations that, they may have been strong recommendations, but a lot of times they're strong recommendations that you refuse. And until you discover what's meaningful for yourself, and for many people, material things are meaningful. It's really important where they live, what their address is, what kind of car they drive, what kind of degree they have, what kind of purse they carry. I mean, it's ridiculous, the symbols of meaningfulness that some people attribute to material items.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And until you can separate yourself, be naked in front of material items, and really know what makes your life meaningful, can you really be empowered?
Mm. And that journey right there is a complex one. Like that's not, speaking from experience, that's not something that's just one realization makes it better, but there's a lot of internal work that goes into that. Like shifting belief systems, thought processes, how people you surround yourself with. Like it's a huge, like, foundational shift.
You hang out with everybody who wears Nikes.
Yeah.
And if they don't you have Nike? Or have iPhones? Or have whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you have that puts you in the group you're in. And in the group that you're in, if your likeness is having humanity and having generosity, it speaks volumes to the meaningfulness in your life.
I love that. Surrounding yourself with the attributes that you desire, right? Rather than the materials.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
And then share the joy of that meaningfulness. You know, you get a new car and you're happy for about a month, and then it's car.
It's so true. It all has a shelf life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get a new iPhone, and then, oh my God, then you get another one.
Mm-hmm.
6 months later, there's another one, and they do the same thing.
Yeah, I have to say, when I think about materials that bring me pleasure and joy, usually it's things that give back, right? So I've built 3 gardens at my house, and that brings me so much joy and peace, and to feel connected in a way I couldn't have imagined before. And it was me dreaming up of the materials I needed to do it, but it's not to have a garden, it's to nurture and be with a garden, to create magic from one seed.
Yeah. It's so simple when you boil it down to what really makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't a big thing. You don't have to have a big bank account to do most
No.
things.
Mm-hmm.
When I get rich, I'm going to be generous. No, don't believe it.
I always was taught and raised that, like, giving was not an evaluation of what you have to give. It's an evaluation of what your heart is telling you to do. And the world is going to bring it back, right? Like, if you live in a land, in a world where you are gracious and outpouring with life, you're going to experience life that way. Like, your view of life is going to be that way, rather than a viewpoint of a punitive life or a restrictive life. And so I remember my grandpa, when we used to go to church with them, and he would put his offerings in, and it was always like this belief, like, this is what my heart is saying that people need right now, and that I'm going to contribute. And it was never a, how much can I do right now?
Yeah. We get caught up, I think, in the 10% tithing.
Oh,
yeah. Okay, fine. I grew up in a small mining town in Missouri, and my parents were average, barely. And my father was treasurer of the church, and I helped him count the collection plate every month. And I was shocked at how much the banker gave, which was about the same amount that my parents gave.
Wow.
I thought, what? You know, there was no relationship to what people had and what they gave.
Mm-hmm.
They gave from their heart, not from the bottom line of their bank account.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an early recognition of what generosity was.
That's interesting. I find too, if you know what you're contributing to, you feel called to it in a different way. Sometimes when we're in a land of oh, donate to this. And my brain goes to, well, what percentage of the proceeds is actually going to what I want them to go to, right? Or tell me more about what that looks like. And then if that's not doing that, like, how do I get it to them directly? Like, how do I bypass all of that in order to fuel that? But we live in a land where I feel like there's a lot of people trying to profit off of generosity rather than
And they
creating.
do. And they do. Look at the, salaries of some of the big non-profit in
Mm-hmm,
italics organizations.
mm-hmm,
And I'm not saying they don't deserve a salary. Of course they do. But what's the point? What's the
mm-hmm,
point?
mm-hmm. Yeah. I was meeting with my grandmother the other week, and she's from England, and we have family out in Sweden, and she was talking about like Sweden, and she was talking about Denmark and Norway and how different countries organize themselves to take care of each other, and how there's some countries over there that never have to think twice about not being secure just because of how the country is structured and set up. So there's not homelessness. There's not worry that they're not going to be able to eat or feed themselves. Once you obtain a job and you're there for 6 months, you're not going to be fired unless you do something atrocious. So there's not this risk of being laid off. Or if you want to further your education, they hold your job opportunities for 2 years while you go and further your education, and then you come back afterwards. And there's like this perception of how you live, and the quality of life is so high in those areas. Poverty is so low, abuse is low because the stressors are not there. Crime rates are low. And it's fascinating to me to live in a place where you're not stuck in this brain space to kind of be self-centered or selfish because you're in survival mode all the time, or you feel like your life is at risk or threatened. And that security creates prosperity. It creates a wealth in terms of happiness and joy and job satisfaction and healthy families. It's
Right,
fascinating.
right, right, right. Some of it is so simple, but it needs to be owned by the people who are, I want to get out of poverty so I can get an iPhone,
Yeah.
whatever the reason is.
Yeah.
Happiness doesn't have a lot of reasonableness to it. It's just a natural experience
Mhm.
of yourself as,
Mhm.
as generous.
Mhm.
Happiness could be, I don't think I've ever said that before, Dena, but happiness could be a natural experience of your generosity.
I'm writing that one down. So you said that your mission has really been creating a life you want to live through this academy and helping people get their brains to think about that, right? In a real way.
Yeah.
And what have been your experiences and things you've been surprised by along that journey? Like, have you had moments where you're like, oh, like I didn't think of this at the get-go, but this is a big learning moment for me.
Probably every day that occurs to me that
Mhm.
this is a big learning moment for me, on the upside and on the downside.
Mhm.
I didn't think it would be. I thought everybody would recognize this, and they don't
Mhm.
always. And
Mhm.
I thought once they recognize it, they would do it. And it's hard. You're changing patterns,
Mhm.
and you're going against your culture or your family or your significant other's wish.
Mhm.
But whose life are you going to live? Somebody else's or your own?
Mhm.
And why the academy is in universities, why I chose that age level is that at this point, the students have chosen to continue their education. They've proven themselves academically, that they're smart. They've
Mhm.
valued education, and they've chosen to get more of it. So that's a good quality to have. The second is that they are in a position of making more decisions beyond those that their families have made for them.
Independence. Mhm.
And then the other part is that they're in an age level
Mhm.
where they're choosing a career, and they're choosing a partner often.
Mm-hmm.
And so in making those choices, they either choose in a way that looks good or pleases somebody, or choose out of a future they want.
Mm. Yeah. I remember when I was a freshman in college, I was 18 and I was in my psychology 101 class. And there was a question that the teacher had asked, and I shared my response. And my response was a frustration of, I wanted to choose this path for myself, but I had to choose the college path for myself because that was a requirement. And my professor said, "You didn't have to." And I said, "Yes, I did." And she said, No, you didn't. You didn't have to. You had the choice." And I was like, that moment was this, like, I think my brain was in a place to understand it. I was tasting that independence you talked about. I was understanding my separation of like how I grew up to who I wanted to be. And I had like this light bulb go on of like, wait a second. Like, I did have the choice, but I didn't think I had it. And now that was so foundational. I shifted majors, I shifted everything shifted in my life at that point because I had this understanding and this just awakening of my own ability to choose that path despite any of the outside circumstances.
Well, look at the things that are holding women back. Look at look at a simple thing. Forget women here. Look at young kids who choose drugs.
Mm-hmm.
They choose it because of the relationship that they're in with their peer group.
Mm-hmm.
They even know better.
Mm-hmm.
And they make that choice. They give away a freedom and a sense of self-expression that is theirs intimately and only to please somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, and this is particularly, well, it's pretty universal, choose majors that their parents think is a good major.
Yeah.
In China, one of the stories I love to tell is this woman from a village decided she wanted to be in fashion design. Her parents raised peanuts, and she wanted to be a fashion designer. Imagine the conversation with
Yeah.
farmer parents saying, I want to go to Manchester University in England and study fashion design. They probably didn't know what fashion design was, much less, or where Manchester University was. And to be able to have the courage of saying, I know you want me to do this, but I really, really see a possibility for our life in this other area.
Mm-hmm.
That's big.
So much courage.
And that's having a voice and a choice. That's really knowing what you want in life. How many people do you know at any age, at age 30 or 40 or 50, who will say, oh, when I was young, I had the dream of, but I gave that up. Look at how many given up dreams there are.
Mm-hmm.
And look at how many people are waiting till they retire to do what they really want to do in life.
Mm-hmm.
I remember years ago, there was a woman and she was in education. And I said, how do you like your job? And she said, oh, I'm going to retire in 15 more years. And I'm going to, and I went, holy moly, 15 years, you're going to continue to do something that's not nurturing and valuable to you. You either need to get value out of what you're doing now or retire now, quit. Go find your life.
Yeah, we have a concept here that you have to work, like nose to the grindstone and then live. And I've really enjoyed a challenge that's come out of the younger generations around some of that, of like, no, like we are given paid time off for a reason. We are given holiday for a reason. Younger people aren't staying married in a job for 10 plus years as the older generations were. It wasn't like this belief that you have to stick and stay until you retire. And I love that. I love the possibilities and the mindsets that are opening around that, because it's interesting to work in a field where, and just live, I guess, in a life where there's people that will like leave the line of work because they're like, I love it, but I don't make enough money. Or I'm going to go to this place because they still offer pensions. Or like there's these mindsets of chasing things that used to be seen as valuable, right?
Right.
rather than doing what you love.
Yeah. And look at how little, I'm going to say Americans in this respect, but it's probably universal, how little American young people understand about money,
Mm-hmm.
how they lack financial literacy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So that there's so much to do. I mean, what could get you out of bed faster in the morning, but realizing that there is so much work to do in our country. I've sent a letter to Dr. Biden asking her to assist me in getting American women on their feet and in the world making changes using the United Nations Sustainable Goals. Let's get people, because we can achieve those. I mean, what, 75,000? All right, it's more than that. Maybe, I don't know. Huge numbers of people die every day of hunger. And there's enough food on the planet to feed everybody. There's no reason why anybody should die of hunger. We're not organized. We don't think we can. I don't know.
Yeah, we live in a country. So when I just look at America, we live in a country who has the ability to solve a lot of these problems. Like, we have the ability at our fingertips to solve a lot of these problems, but we don't.
We don't. And the trajectory, the other thing, Dena, that really is a concern for me is the trajectory in America is in a downward slope. More people in poverty, students dropping out of school, more abuse, more bankruptcy. And part of this has been brought on by the pandemic. But the solutions to what's been brought on are not empowering solutions. They're and I'm not sure that I'm knowledgeable enough to say this. So it may not be true at all. But the situations that we're creating are welfare situations, not empowering situations. I'm not sure that welfare is empowering. I'm not sure that feeding people, well, I am sure that feeding people is not the same as ending hunger. It is not the same as ending hunger. And so we've fed people for a long time in all parts of the world, and we still have hunger.
It's going back to the reactive versus proactive, right?
Yeah. Do something easy that we know how to, and it's not even necessarily easy. I mean, it's not easy to feed people, but we're doing that rather than creating a new way of addressing this issue.
Absolutely. I think of this brings my brain to like the food deserts that we have, where it's like Circle K is the grocery store and there's no fresh produce around or anything. And there's so many brilliant concepts around urban farming and farming in a way that uses those like soil socks to reduce the amount of soil that you need, the amount of water that you need. It decreases the amount of pest problems that you have. And you can put them on concrete and you can grow your own food. And you can, like, there's so many solutions out there that are simple that can treat this, but we don't teach that either. Like, we don't teach this in school. Like, go to a public education classes. This isn't a part of your education or your awareness, right?
Yeah,
we don't.
And look at the lack. Well, just an Arizona statistic. Arizona is 49th in the country in terms of education. 49.
And for as long as I've been alive, we've been that way. Like, I don't.
Yeah. Nothing changes if nothing changes. And we keep doing the same treatment of the same problem. Absolutely.
I like what you just said. Nothing changes if nothing changes. That's so simple.
And the only one you can change is yourself. That's the important second sentence. Nothing changes, and you can only change yourself. So there's a lot of work to be done. And I want to acknowledge you, Dena, in what you're doing to make these conversations known to people for whom decisions that they make will make a difference to others on the planet.
Mm.
You don't just make decisions for yourself, make them for the planet, make them for
Yeah.
humanity.
Yeah, thank you. That's my whole mission here, is to create a place where people can hear stories and learn from others' journeys and have those light bulb moments, right? Expose themselves to things they wouldn't have otherwise exposed themselves to, or feel empowered by someone else's story to see like, oh, if they did it, I can do it too. I can do it too.
Or they didn't do it and I can do it.
There you go.
Nobody went to the moon before the first person went to the moon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I have such big dreams that I've been working towards, and I think all of them live in the land of showcasing ways to prove no matter what resources you have in front of you, you can make something out of it if you believe and if you try something new, right?
The answers are out there. I mean, we went to the moon in 10 years. A man on the moon in 10 years. And that was how many years ago? And we still can't get food in the hands of children in South Phoenix, or books, that we could go to the moon. And we've gone to the moon over and over again, and we still have hunger. Doesn't make sense to me. Makes no sense.
It's not rocket science. Well, Jerrie, thank you so much for joining us today and imparting your wisdom and your knowledge and your experiences with us. It has been such an honor to get to learn from you.
Thank you for providing this opportunity. And I just think we should recognize a mutual friend that we had, Rebecca, for putting this together. It's all about connections. It's all about contributing to each other. So had it not been for Rebecca, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
I absolutely adore Rebecca. She actually called me out of the blue and she's like, I know somebody you need to interview. And she was so excited just based on, she shared about your guys' relationship. And I was so eager to get a chance to talk with you. And I agree with what you said. It's all about connections. Like one thing leads to the next.
How would I have ever known when Rebecca was born that she would have given me this gift of me?
I adore it. Oh, well, thank you so much, Jerrie. I appreciate you. And I'm going to link your websites to the show notes of this episode.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you are feeling inspired and empowered in your own healing journey. I know that many of you listening might be reflecting on your own stories that you may feel called to share. If so, please reach out to me at Dena T at empowertoheal.com. That's DENAT at empower2heal.com. Or drop me a message through my Instagram handle at empower2heal. I would love to connect with you and learn about your journeys so that we can hopefully continue to spread these powerful life lessons on empowering ourselves to heal. My contacts will also be linked in the show notes below so that you can easily find me. We are so eager to start a movement in showcasing the many ways we can heal. And you can be part of this movement too by capturing images and tagging them #empower2heal on Instagram. We look forward to seeing all the ways that you are empowered to heal. I love you, beautiful souls, and thank you so much. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and review.
We on fire, we burn brighter, we burn brighter. We on fire, we on fire. We go higher, we go higher. Born to take this world by storm, born to see what is in store. Everything starts within our core, so let's begin the dreamer's roar and show them what we stand for. It's a dreamer's world and it's on fire. Step by attire. Put it on, come see your empire. Welcome home, sire, what do you desire? Never again will you be the outsider. Born to take this world by storm, born to see what is in store. Everything starts within our core, so let's begin the dreamer's war and show them what we stand for. Now's the time for taking chances. Bit by bit, we're learning new dances, making our own stances, making time for practice, getting better at this. Let them try their tactics, they're nothing but fragments, drowning deep in static. Our dreams are like magnets, take us high as planets. We could be galactic once we understand it. Dreams come true when you withstand it. Born to take this world by storm, born to see what is in store. Everything starts within our core, so let's begin the dreamer's war and show them what we stand for. It's time to choose our own path. Block by block, we feel the world's wrath. We gotta move fast to complete the task. Move ahead, I'll come in last. Doing my part, I found my grasp. Living the dream, escape the past. Got the last laugh, no turning back. Life's too short to just relax.